now. And yeah, just stick around for the discussion. It's going to be really great. I'm just trying to figure out how to connect with them. How is everybody? I never go live, so this is really strange. What's up? So for those of you guys who are just joining, we're having a roundtable with Co by Colgate and the Cyber Smile Foundation to discuss cyberbullying and how we can all be better allies and lead a more safe space online. Just waiting for them to join. And hold on. Hello, hello. Oh, thank you. Hi, there it is. Technology is hard.
It is sometimes hard. Hi, Alicia. How are you?
Good. How are you, Dr. G?
I'm great. I am so excited about this conversation today.
Me too. I think it's going to be really, really helpful and productive, and I'm excited to learn more myself as well.
I think that your audience is so impacted by the issue of cyberbullying that they may not even think about it. They may just think like, oh, that's just life.
That's just, yeah, I mean, I'm Gen Z, so that's literally all I know is having a phone in my hand. So I'm sure a lot of the people following me can definitely relate. But yeah, I'm just still waiting on Dana to join us.
Alicia, while we're waiting, I wondered, when you would see like cartoons and stuff as a kid of somebody being bullied in the schoolyard or on the school bus, did it seem old-fashioned to you? Did you think like, why didn't they just text them that?
Well, you know, I like to refer to myself as a zillennial because I can like remember the
millennial. I like that.
Like the time before social media was so readily available in like your pocket, and I definitely have been like experienced in elementary school or whatever, like bullying firsthand of like how you would see it. I definitely think it's a bit antiquated nowadays and can never imagine it happening now because it's so much easier to just hurt someone's feelings online. But yeah, it's actually, I don't see it as much, and it's like so much more accessible now for people to be, you know, bullied online.
And it's so much more invisible to the people in your life who aren't watching your social media really closely or reading all your comments. Yeah. It's impossible. They think like, oh, look, you look like you do fine. I don't see anybody being mean to you when you're getting off the school bus, or you seem to have a group of friends who are really nice. And so you're fine. And I put that little fine check next to you as one of the adults in that kid's life, or even the parent of a young adult. Yeah. I don't even know what to look for.
Absolutely. It creates such an isolating experience. And I would love to know like what you would suggest when someone feels isolated in that way.
So it's really a great idea to think about the fact that you don't have to put everybody in your pocket. What you're saying is everybody's in your pocket, right? So you can explain all the experiences you're having, and you can share with people, and you can connect with people all in your purse or your pocket because they're all on your phone, but you don't have to invite everybody in. And so you can say, I have boundaries, like this is not okay with me. And you can encourage your friends to do that too. When you see somebody who's having a hard time, you can say, hey, we don't need them. We can block them, we can report them. Social media has a bunch of tools that I think people are really hesitant to use sometimes. Do you know why people hesitate to block and stuff?
Are they afraid? I know I used to be afraid to block, but now I love it. I love blocking people, I love muting people. But are they afraid to feel like they might feel negative feelings towards them? Or why is that?
I wonder. I think that that's a big piece of it, is that, well, I don't want to be the kind of person who's mean like that, or will they be mad at me? But honestly, if somebody who's mean, because when somebody bullies you, they're just showing you who they are. It's not saying anything about you, right? You could put up a totally blank purple circle and people would have nasty things to say about that. So it's not about the blank purple circle, it's about the aggressor. But the targets tend to think, oh, this is about me. And if they said I was mean, then I better show how nice I can be. Or if they said that I was this, I've got to be the opposite. People tend to blame themselves. And it's a really important message about cyberbullying to remember it is not about you, and it is not your fault when this happens to you.
That's really absolutely important to remember. And also I'd like to highlight, you know, reaching out to people who are your support system in real life and not feeling like you're a burden to reach out. Do you think, does the research show that people oftentimes feel like a burden?
For sure, they want to be helpful to other people, but when they get attacked, especially if they feel like, oh, maybe I did something that caused this, even though they didn't, it's not about them, it's absolutely not the target's fault, they still have this feeling. All the research shows that they think if it'll spread, right? If I tell the people that care about me that this happened, instead of they'll rally around me and they'll support me and they'll help me block that person, or they'll spread positivity that'll make me feel much better, they might think that's true too. And has that been your experience? Like when you reach out to your support network about something hard that happened to you, do they go, yeah, they're right, you deserve that?
Absolutely not. Oh my gosh. Right. And if they
totally,
those are not my friends. Yeah.
Right, totally. So I know that we're waiting for Dana, and I'm really excited about the conversation we're going to have with her, because we're talking about a new research report that was just released today. And she's from Co. by Colgate, and they sponsored this really important research. It's called the State of Play report, and I really hope that everybody in your audience will check it out, because if you are, like Alisha, Gen Z, this report is about you. This report is looking at cyberbullying, the bullying that can happen anywhere, because we tend to think about bullying, like I said, and by we, I mean, you know, old people like me, we tend to think of it happening physically, in person, within four walls, but it's pervasive. And in this study, we wanted to look at, okay, how widespread is it? How much is this happening? Who's being targeted? And I think this is really interesting, how many people are witnessing it? And what's the impact on people just who see it happen, even when they're not targeted? We looked really at 16 to 24-year-olds, so Gen Z, and we saw some really interesting things. This really matters, not just when you yourself are attacked, which is awful and you need support, but also when you watch it happen, when you read it happening or see it go by or know it's happening, it impacts you negatively.
That's really shocking. And oh my gosh.
I'm so sorry. Hi, everyone. I apologize. A little technical difficulties on this side. So sorry for jumping in. I don't know where we're at in the discussion, but hi, everyone. I think you've already started, but welcome to the Co-Spaces Roundtable discussion on cyberbullying. I'm Dana Medema. I'm the Vice President and General Manager of Oral Care for North America at Colgate-Palmolive. And really, I'm here today on behalf of an area that I'm passionate about, but also on behalf of one of my favorite brands, which is Co by Colgate. And really, we had started Co by Colgate was one of our first oral beauty collections that we launched. A team of really passionate young people within the organization launched this brand within Ulta and within our own direct-to-consumer site earlier this year. And the whole brand was grounded on this idea that smile is at the heart of feeling beautiful and confident. And we really want people to smile brighter, share their authentic selves, and really, express themselves freely. And so it was grounded in this idea of authentic self-expression and feeling beautiful both on the inside and on the outside. So sorry for being late, but we're so excited about hosting this event because we really do want to have an authentic dialogue. And I'm sure that Dr. G and Alisha have already been doing that. And I'm sure they've already introduced themselves, so I won't go there. But these are two incredibly, passionate allies in stopping cyberbullying. So, I'm sure you already met Dr. G. Dr. G, did you already get introduced?
I, just kind of rolled because I really wanted to talk about how Alisha's audience is Gen Z. This study that we're about to talk about, we didn't really talk about any of the specifics, but okay, it's about them, right? It's about how cyberbullying, not just when they're targeted, but also when they witness it, how it impacts them.
Great. But I do want to tell you guys, Dr. G is a badass. You know what? This is a woman who has 4 kids. I don't know how she does it. 4 kids. She's a doctor. And she's like an expert in resiliency and parenting. And I think when you have 4 kids, you get to deserve that title. And then of course, like I feel like Alicia's like, you know, like she's been such a joy, so wonderful. Like she's been such a good partner with us. She's, you know, not just a beautiful person in and out, as you guys are her fans, so you know this, but she's an advocate and she's a passionate ally. And so Alisha, thank you for hosting us, and I'm really glad to be having this discussion with the two of you. So thanks again from the bottom of my heart. And so as you guys have already jumped in, but let's just get going. And that is, you know, look, digital and social, as I'm sure you said, it's infiltrated every part of our life. And on a happy note, we connect with friends, we connect with family, you know, we get to join communities of shared interests. We get to see some great cat videos, which I personally love. But, you know, bullying has changed, and we just experience it on such a scale that is so different than what it used to be in the past. And that's what this roundtable is going to be all about. We want to really talk about what is cyberbullying, how prevalent it is in young people, and what we can all do to be really good digital allies. And so, as Dr. G mentioned, you know, Colgate sponsored a report with CyberSmile Foundation. And Dr. G, did you talk about CyberSmile Foundation at all?
Not yet. Not
Okay,
yet. Do it, please.
So I will take a few minutes. The CyberSmile Foundation is just a wonderful nonprofit organization that is fully committed. They are such strong proponents of let's make the digital community a healthy one. And so they are out there making sure that they can give tips, tools, support in the area of any online abuse, any bullying online. And Dr. G just happens to be one of their board members. But we partnered with them to really understand what's actually happening. And so the report that we are producing is called the State of the Play Report, Gen Z and Identity-Based Cyberbullying. And I'll kind of turn it over to you, Dr. G, because you've been the big proponent of this. Can you give us a little synopsis of what is the report, and how was it fielded, and who is it fielded with?
So as I mentioned before, cyberbullying is this thing that's pervasive, and it's new, and it's not bound just by schoolyards or office walls. It can be anywhere, anytime. So we wanted to understand how widespread is it, who's getting targeted, and how many people are watching it, focusing on Gen Z. So we fielded over 1,000 young adults from the ages of 16 to 24 in the United States, and we asked them a series of questions about their experiences online, and the results that we're about to talk about are really astonishing.
Yeah, so I'm gonna just dig right into it. So, you know, let's give the first, I'll get a few stats out there. And so one of the stats that was a little alarming to me was that basically 60% of Gen Zs in this, you know, report have experienced or been the target of some type of online bullying, abuse, or harassment. And just for the, you know, fraction freaks, that's almost 2/3. For the non-fraction freaks, that's like 3 out of 5 people within the Gen Z kind of age group are experiencing some type of cyberbullying or abuse online. That's like staggering to me. That's like scary to me as a daughter. I have a teenage daughter, and I just find that a little alarming. So, you know, is that right? Is that real? And how are you defining cyberbullying within the report, and how is it changing?
Yeah, that is both real and horrifying. Absolutely. But it's totally real. And I bet that a lot of people who are with us today, they're not shocked to hear that. Cyberbullying is defined as any harassment that happens through a computer, through a phone, online, digitally, at all. And it's really important to remember that that is a big change. Bullying isn't something that only happens face-to-face. As a matter of fact, Alisha, like you said at the beginning of our conversation, it's way easier for it not to happen face-to-face. So more people feel ready to bring this kind of harassment and abuse to other people. Gen Z is in a really unique position. And Alisha alluded to this earlier when she said, it's always been a thing. In Gen Z, they have never known a time without smartphones or without social media, which means they have never known a time without cyberbullying.
Yeah, so this idea of no boundaries is what I find really tough here. You know, when I was young, and we won't talk about when that was, But when I was young, it was just kind of, it was your neighborhood. Like maybe something was going on in your neighborhood, or, it was your high school, but it was like a little concentric circle around this little world that you lived in. But now it's so much bigger, and it seems like everyone can be a victim. And look, Alisha, we've chatted about this before, but there's going to be people that'll be like, wait a minute, she's beautiful, she's famous. Like, how can she understand? Have you share with us? Have you experienced cyberbullying yourself? And if you feel comfortable, can you share your experience and how it made you feel?
Absolutely. I wish I thought of myself that way. By the way you introduced me, thank you so much. But I could split my life up with different social media platforms that were popular at the time, from when I was elementary school till now, and I'm 24. So of course, the internet brings a lot of great things and connections with people, but it also comes with a fair share of mean comments. And when I was in high school and middle school, I would definitely get bullied online. And that only opened up more once I became more of a public figure when I was 19 years old. And I would get mostly good comments, but I got a lot of mean comments as well, which was really overwhelming, especially when you're 19 and you don't know how to navigate that, how to process that, what that does to your self-esteem. And honestly, it made me lose my self-esteem for a while there, until I reached out to my support system, which are my friends and my family, and talked to them about it. And I had to personally unplug for a while. I had to build myself back up and remind myself what is important, what is real, what values do I hold, and to understand that their opinion of me is not a reflection of who I truly am.
Alisha, thank you for telling us about your experiences. That feeling of losing self-esteem is really hard, and you don't deserve that. You're not to blame. It wasn't about you. But I wondered because a lot of people, they face this kind of thing, and like we talked about for a minute, they don't know if they should tell people, and they're not sure where to turn. So I wondered if you ever approached the person who was doing this and kind of pushed back, or if you went to your parent and asked for advice, or if you used any of the tools that are available online. What did you do when this happened to you and you were feeling those hard things?
When I was younger, I definitely was still trying to navigate it. I will admit I wasn't comfortable, or I wasn't as clear with communication as I am now, of course, when you're young. So the first thing I did was ask myself, why is this happening? Kind of blame myself. And then the second that I reached out to my friends, I was reminded oh, this has nothing to do with me. This is completely separate from me. And then it created this safe space and dialogue that I just became more comfortable as I grew to open up to people. And I'm just gonna echo, that's what's been my constant theme, is when I'm feeling low, I really reach out to my support system.
Yeah, I mean, I think this, one, first, Alisha, thank you for sharing that. But what I hear from what you said is this idea of, do not go this alone. I think that's if there's one thing I want to leave people with today, is you should never do this alone, whether that's, talking to a parent or talking to a friend. You should not try to go at this on your alone or feel isolated. And maybe two questions for you, Dr. G, because I don't know how it is in your house, but I'm not sure my daughter would come to me. So what advice do you have, for parents or caregivers? Because, at the end of the day, some young people will be like my parents are clueless. They can barely, get the iPhone turned on. What can they do? What can young people do to maybe get their parents up to speed?
So if you are in a situation where either you don't feel comfortable going to your adult at home or the adult in your family, or you would go to them, but they would be like, oh, it's just online. So, just turn it off. It's just no big deal. It can be a real struggle to feel like, how do I explain the impact of this? That there's no just about it. It's pervasive. It makes a really big difference to me. there's a couple of things that you can do as a young person trying to teach the adults in your life to understand the impact of this. And one of those things is to give them a tour of online life, not about you. For a minute or a few minutes, just show them around the social media platforms that are the most meaningful for you or that you use the most. Because one of the problems that adults have in a family is we care about you so much that when you're going through something hard, we just don't handle it well. So show them what's happening to other people. Show them experiences that people you know of are having. And then say, when I go through something like that, do you think you could support me? That when language, instead of saying if, when is really powerful. When says, hey, this happens to everybody. It's not their fault, but this will happen to pretty much every social media user at some point in their lives. When we say when, then we think about what to do next. When we use the word if, it kind of implies if you mess up. And this is a really important point for parents too. When we're talking to our kids about using social media, even our adult children, when we're asking them about it, if we set them up by saying, when somebody is rude to you online, then we're saying, we're not going to blame you for that. You're not going to get in trouble. For our teenagers, we're not going to try and pull social media use away from you for that, because that's just a fact of life online. But when that happens, what could you do? What could you reach out to? Instead of saying, if somehow you bring this on yourself or if you mess up, we're saying, when this happens, let's have a plan.
Yeah, I'm going to start using that. I love that language of when. So I'm going to have to take a little mental note of that. And definitely that's going to something I add to my little repertoire now. So a few more stats, because this was, I found this a little bit shocking as well. But back to this report, one of the questions that we asked was, what are people bullied on? And this was a little surprising because, spoiler alert, it's everything. So, 78% of people said they're bullied on gender identity. 78% of people said religious beliefs. 77% sexual identity. 74% physical or mental ableness. 73% skin tone. So what this kind of told me was that it's broad, like it's everybody. Anybody that you feel might be slightly different than you for whatever reason, they could be targeted for bullying. And and Alisha, this is we chatted on this as well, but both all three of us we're women, but you and I are both also biracial, and so would love to understand from you, have you ever been bullied because of your identity? And once again, tell us, how did you handle it, and what was it?
Absolutely. I think in the world, it's hard being a woman in the society, let alone a woman of color. And it's no different on the internet, if not amplified. I think I've been bullied or had a mean comment or weird DM about any little thing or feature that's a physical attribute of mine, which, I'm not gonna lie, made me feel like, oh, maybe I should angle my face this way or do that, or just be so overly mindful of how I presented myself online, because of these people would remind me of certain things that they didn't like about me. And it almost makes you feel like, oh my gosh, I can't do anything without being judged. And yeah, I've been bullied from anything about my hair to my nose to my weight or any physical attribute. And yes, it makes me feel self-conscious, but then I have that second voice in my mind being like, I have to remind myself of what I like about myself and know that really matters, and it's not a reflection on me.
I'm so grateful that you're willing to talk about this, because Dana, all those stats that you gave us show us everybody gets bullied about the very things that make us individuals. And Alisha, that feeling of self-consciousness that you describe is hard, because it can pop up and bother you at the hardest, most frustrating times when you're really in the zone or really enjoying what you're doing. It is not your fault. It's not your job to have your body shape please somebody else. And it's not your responsibility. But what we forget so often is that the target can't do anything about this. When people attack and harass others online, they're not telling us anything about the target. They're telling us a lot about themselves. They're showing us their bias, their perceptions, their anger, often their own discontent. And it's really important that we point out to people who've been targeted over and over again to be as strong a voice as the aggressor, to say, not your fault, not about you. You're pretty amazing. You deserve a lot of empathy and support. We have to keep in mind when we see cyberbullying happening that, yes, it can be really damaging to the target, but kind words and reaching out can actually negate some of that negative and make people feel more positive.
Yeah. Look, Dr. G, there are so many things in there, but I'm going to try to say there's at least 3 things I want people to take away. And one is going to be, remember, bullying is a sign of the aggressor's bias and insecurity. So remember that. I know it's hard, like you're in it and you're like, wait a minute, I'm not so sorry for this person. Like they're like bullying me. But remember that they've got their own issues. They've got their own biases. They've clearly got their own insecurities. And that once again, you are not the problem. Like you are the target of their bullying for whatever reason, but it's not a reflection of your shortcoming. It's not something that you have done wrong. And I know when you're in it, it probably feels like, I do feel like the problem, but you just have to keep reminding yourself, it is not me, it's them. So look, there's also the people that are around this. And this is what we were talking about, before, which is advocacy. And at the end of the day, one other startling fact from the report was that 9 out of 10 members of Gen Z, so 87% for the percentage people, have said that they have seen someone targeted with online bullying or abuse or harassment. So these are the people, you're on the periphery, you're kind of watching it go down. And so, they're like, Dr. G, I would like to understand from you, like, there's the people that are getting harmed, but what about the emotional impact of the people that are kind of watching it go on, like the people that are on the sidelines?
Yeah, and how much you want to bet that the people who are watching our conversation are thinking, only 9 out of 10? What are the other 10% of those people doing? How are they not seeing this happening online? In the State of Play report, we found out that 22% of Gen Z says that when they witness this, they get a prolonged feeling of sadness afterwards. This isn't just they notice it go by and shake their head or whatever. 14% of people say it leaves them with a feeling of anger. Mm. What we need to pay attention to about this portion of the State of Play report is that even people who are not currently being targeted or have not yet been targeted, they are impacted by witnessing this kind of abuse. And there's something that we can keep in mind while we do that. And it's a real passion of mine. It's this idea of resilience. So resilience is your ability to navigate something and come through it the kind of person you want to be. You can't control what comes at you. It's not your fault that you get targeted. It's not your fault that there's some hate going on online that you happened on in your feed, but you can navigate it and be the kind of person you want to be. One of the ways you can do that is, Alisha, what you said you were encouraged to do. Turn it down or unplug, turn it off for a while. And that can be a really positive coping mechanism. But if you're not going to unplug completely, you're going to run into this. So another thing that you can do is reach out to somebody who's going through something like that through a private message or a phone call or a text, if there's somebody that you know. Look at me showing my age with phone calls, right? With a text to someone that you know. But even if you feel like you don't know them well enough to reach out to them and say, hey, this isn't your fault, this isn't about you, this is something I really admire about you, you can use the tools that are available. You can report that comment, you can block someone, you can mute. All of those tools are there to be used. It's a lot like those campaigns when towns want everybody to clean up and they'll put up signs saying, pick up a few pieces of litter. Well, if we all picked up a few pieces of litter online, we could make it a much more positive place.
I love this this imagery of picking up the litter. So all of us, we got to pick up a little litter online. And so
those hateful comments or the litter,
exactly.
Just pick it up and throw it out.
Block, mute.
Yeah, those hateful tweets. So look, yep. Alisha, have you picked up some litter? So like, when have you, like, we would love to hear about, how have you navigated, like when you've witnessed something, going down and you're like, I don't really like, that doesn't seem too good. So how have you supported others, or how have you contributed to us kind of picking up this trash offline or online?
I am a proud muter, blocker, reporter. And I mean that in the sense of like, I will go down an Instagram rabbit hole. I'll be on like someone's second cousin twice removed Instagram page and then see someone comment kind of something really disgusting or rude, and I'll report it. And I'm not even a part of that world even, but even with my page or anything, I'll report comments I see on my page that are hurtful or mean, on my friends' pages. I'll block people who make me feel bad about myself. I'll mute people that doesn't make me feel positive feelings when I'm looking at my feed. So I'm an avid user of all the resources that are on social media. And I'm definitely going to actively pick up the litter on our social media pages and live vicariously like that to try to spread more joy and pleasantries online.
I absolutely love that. I believe it in you. So, and maybe there's more. So Dr. G, you know, what else? So back to this report, it also said like 60%, close to 60% of people said they actually really didn't know what to do. Like when someone's being bullied online, like I really don't know what to do. So what can a person do?
So there are a few things that you can do if you're just watching it go by. And I want to talk about that because that's what happens to a lot of us. You can reach out to that person in some way. If you're willing, if you've got the bandwidth, you can jump into that thread and spread some positivity. But if that feels too vulnerable or wouldn't be a safe thing for you for some reason, that matters. I want you to have empathy for your own feelings, your own discomfort or fear or anger or sadness. But you can privately message that person a message of support. You can message some other people that you know follow and say, hey, come on over here and let's report or block what's going on so that we can help protect someone who doesn't deserve to be treated this way. But I think there's something else really important to talk about, and that is what do you do when somebody you care about comes to you, like Alisha did to her friends and says, hey, this is happening to me. Or when your young adult child comes to you and says, hey, this is happening to me. Can you help me? Or this is hard for me. There's a few steps that we can always take. Even if you're not sure what to say, you can always show gratitude that they were willing to come to you. You can show empathy for whatever it is that they're feeling. You can check in and make sure that they're safe. Because, and now I'm really speaking as a mom, if my kid isn't safe, then I can step in front of them and protect them and do everything I can. But if they are safe, then I need to ask, hey, beyond empathy, do you want some help? Do you just want to talk it through? Do you want to think about what hasn't worked so far and what you could try to do next? Because when you experience this again, I want you to be more comfortable handling it. And I really want to put in a plug. I want everybody to remember CyberSmile Foundation and other organizations like us have amazing resources to help. So if you were listening to Dana say, hey, listen, don't go this alone, and you're saying, I don't have anybody I can tell, I hope you'll have a little more faith in the people in your life and maybe tour them around your social media and tell them. But if you really don't, there are some amazing resources. In addition to the tools on the social media platforms themselves, there are places filled with ideas for how to help and protect yourself in these situations.
Thank you. So look, guys, we could go on for a while, but I know that we just have a few minutes left. So I do want to maybe ask one question to both of you. And Alisha, I'm going to start with you, and it's part personal and part for this topic. But coming out of today's chat, like, how do you plan to continue to bring more positivity into the digital world? And then second part of the question, more personal, is do you have any projects that we should keep an eye out for?
Well, thank you guys so much for your time, first of all. I love this discussion. I learned a lot. Definitely had a different perspective on how I can move forward in this digital space. I plan on being more active online with, spreading positivity, like, using my platform for these types of things, to raise awareness and to speak to wonderful people like yourselves, to reach out to people if I see someone that's maybe struggling or might need some extra support, and continuing my tirade of blocking and muting and reporting. And for myself, yes, I have 2 projects coming out next year. They're 2 different films. I don't know when they're coming out, so that's really all I can say. But yes, I'm really excited for them to come out. They're really amazing, and yeah.
We can't wait to see.
Yeah, exactly. So look, amazing. thank you for being such an advocate for positivity. And we'll be looking for the upcoming work. And so, Dr. G, you're going to close us out. Any last tips for people on cyberbullying?
I want to go back to this thing that you've talked about a lot, Dana, and just remind people that when you see negative things happening, if you're the target, it's not about you, but your feelings deserve support. And when you see hard things happening online, things that you think are just not supportive, remember that you can step away if that's what you need to do, and you can be the antidote sometimes. You can spread that little positivity that Alisha is talking about. Your actions can have amazing power at helping or even saving someone else.
So look, a big virtual party clap to both the lovely and talented Alisha Boe and the amazing Dr. G. Alisha, thank you for hosting us and having both of you, like, first of all, Alisha, thank you for sharing your stories, because I think that's what people can really connect with. And then Dr. G, your wisdom, like, you know, all down to you. So thank you. And then a few last things, the report that we talked about, the State of the Play report, Gen Z and identity-based cyberbullying, out tomorrow. So feel free to check it out. It's about you. It's, you know, it's meant to like capture your thoughts and how you're thinking. This is not about, you know, my generation. So definitely check it out. And then look, Cyber Smile is a wonderful foundation, and just to help you kind of get in the groove of supporting them is for every by Colgate product that you purchase through 2021, we will be donating $1 for every product that is purchased, and that we're trying to get to a minimum 200,000 but a maximum 300,000. So look, we ask you to kind of go out there and check out those by Colgate, and to make it a little easier for you, we do have a discount code that you can use, CoSpaces. You'll receive $10 off. You have to purchase, you know, $100 or more in products. You go to cobycolgate.com. Good for one person through the end of the year. Good Christmas gift. All products are on cobycolgate.com. I'm sorry, it's just for the folks in the U.S. And it also excludes the taxes and shipping. But a big thank you. Help us to support this organization. Thank you, Alisha. Thank you, Dr. G.
Thank you.
Everybody,
Thank
you know,
you.
have a good night, a
everyone
good morning,
joining.
a good afternoon, wherever you're at. Really, thanks a lot.
Thank you guys. Thank you.
Bye. Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.